Happy Thursday, everyone. What's going on? Welcome to another edition of Greg Balls of Fire, the little mini pod here that we tend to do when we have things to discuss like pay-per-view predictions or icon deaths. And yesterday, the wrestling world lost one of the biggest names and icons that it's ever lost in its history. The legendary Terry Funk passed away, I believe at the age of 79, just a couple of months past his 79th birthday, which was this past June. He has not been in great health as of late. Of course, we know that his wife passed away in 2019, and he's been kind of on a steady decline since then, getting various updates from friends like Mick Foley or Ric Flair or any other legends that talked to him. And some of the updates over the last couple of years weren't great, and we knew that Terry was, he was struggling a little bit, and unfortunately we lost him yesterday. So since we planned to come up here today anyway to do the predictions, I didn't try to rush up here and do any sort of quick, tribute to Terry yesterday or anything like that. I thought we would just save it for today so we could talk about Terry Funk, talk about our memories of him, and discuss the just ridiculously long and influential career path that he blazed. Because one cool thing about Terry Funk is that you can be a fan of 70s wrestling and a fan of modern wrestling, and both of those sets of fans know who this guy is. And that's a really big deal. And not a whole lot of guys were able to accomplish what he did to the degree that he did. He was not, he's one of those icons like a Roddy Piper, a Dusty Rhodes, a Ric Flair, Jack Briscoe, these icon legends, but he was different from a Hulk Hogan or, some of these other guys. Nobody quite gave back, I should say, gave back to wrestling the way Terry did. Like nobody. I mean, this guy was working indies in his 70s, doing everything he can to give a push to the next generation. He's been doing that for decades, dating all the way back 25, 26, 28 years ago almost now, during the birth of Eastern Championship Wrestling that became ECW, him winning their championship on their first ever pay-per-view in 1997. And that was when this man was in his mid-50s, well beyond the days of being NWA champion and everything else he did. Here he is getting another run 25 years ago that I thought was crazy then. Little did we know that in 1997, he would have his first of, 16 retirement matches and go on to return to WWE as Chainsaw Charlie, go back to ECW, go to WCW again for his third stint in 99 and 2000, and then work in indies all the way up until he basically could not work anymore. And nobody had the career quite like Terry Funk. So in addition to today's AEW All-In predictions and our recap of last night's Dynamite, we're going to tribute the Funker here as best as we can, because this is a big one. This is a big loss. This one isn't, as devastating per se, because Funker lived to be almost 80, so obviously this death is extremely sad, and the wrestling world has lost, one of its biggest names ever. But I'm happy to say that this isn't a tragic death, because as wrestling fans, we've experienced way more tragedy than we deserved. And we've experienced just a lot of, just bad behavior, or, just these lives that are lived that end so tragically, whether it be to drug addiction or overdoses or violence or accidents or anything like that. It seems like pro wrestling and pro wrestling fans get kicked in the balls with steel-toe boots an awful lot. So with Terry, I want this to be more of a celebration, more of a memory of him, a tribute to his career, because nothing about his death that we're going to talk about here, is overly tragic, other than the fact that his life just came to an end, But luckily, Terry had a career that he can be proud of, and he was one of the craziest motherfuckers. For somebody who was as crazy as he was on camera, straight as a grizzly's dick behind the camera. Married to his wife ever since 1965. She passed away just a few years ago, and I don't think Terry really ever kind of recovered from that. It's been really hard, I think, for him to live the past 3 or 4 years, without somebody, the woman that's been by his side all this time. So Terry was anything but the character that he played on TV, and he was just a wild, really interesting character, and one of the craziest MFers this business has ever seen. So we'll talk about Terry here to kind of open things up. Then we will recap a little bit of last night's Dynamite, depending on how much time we have. I'm not going to get into the entire show, but we'll talk about the key points. Plus, last night they also taped Collision for this Saturday, because everybody is probably now heading over. They're probably on a plane right now, heading over to London for the big show on Sunday. So they had to tape Collision early. I did check out the spoilers. I read them because spoilers don't bother me. I usually don't care about reading those. I will not spoil anything for you guys, but there is one thing that happened on Collision that did set up a match on the 0 hour. So we will have to kind of spoil that a little bit for you. But other than that, you will not have to worry about any spoilers. And then after we talk about Dynamite, we will predict all 11 matches, I believe, on All In. We got 2 on the 0 hour and 9 matches now on the main card, and a couple of changes to the card, a couple of substitutions. AR Fox and Fenix are out. Christian and I forgot who, and Santana and Ortiz are back. Edge released a big video today too. We're going to talk about that. Remind me to talk about Edge. Let me put it in my notes here because I forgot to write them down. Let me just put after Terry Funk. Let's just call him Adam today because that's probably going to be his name. Okay, Adam, we're going to talk about him after Funk. But based on the fact that Christian is now on the card for All In, replacing AR Fox after they turned him back babyface after turning him heel 2 weeks ago, he's now on the All In card. So, yeah, I'm on Durango, number 95. You never know. You never know. I'm just saying. But we will talk about what Edge had to say today. And along with all of our AEW Dynamite recap and all-in predictions, this is going to be a very AEW heavy pod, but not before we talk about Terry Funk. I did come up 15 minutes early today just because you guys know I like to ramble for the first 10 or 15 minutes of the podcast, say hello to you guys, knock out super chats, that type of thing. So I came up a little bit early just to ensure we've got enough time because I really can only go here for about another 90 minutes and then I got to head off to work. So I just wanted to make sure we had enough time to talk about everything we're going to talk about today. And please let me know if there's anything you would like me to discuss in the chat. But like I said, the only news we're going to talk about is Terry Funk and Edge, and then we're going to talk about Dynamite and All In. But if there's anything else that we need to discuss, somebody's getting their mug shot today, probably right about now. We could talk about that if you want, but no, this is not going to be politics. This is going to be pro wrestling, and a lot of it. Good to see everybody here hanging out in the chat so far. Thank you for being here. Please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe if you are not yet already. Not a huge group in here, but I will say hi to our awesome channel members like Zane G. Good to see you, my friend. The Juliet's here. So is Michael Cuomo. And we have the Juliet. I already got you. The Juliet and Zane, you're the only channel members in here so far? I guess so. Well, good to see Daniel as well. My boy Daniel is in the house. So is Muhammad. We got Ben Espinoza in the way. Young South Wavy Network is here. We also have Mohammed, Jay Lambo, Rodrigo, Stephen Harris, Mark Simpson, and Rehan Ahmed. Good to see you as well. Anybody else? Oh, and JL. Rest in peace, Terry Funk. I'll never forget the time he got choke slammed out of his shoes. Yeah, at the old famous Hell in the Cell match with Foley and Taker. And that was a nice little touch by Terry. That's just the little things. You know, he definitely untied his shoes and made it to where he got choked out of them. But it's just like the way he would just like quiver and convulse after he took bumps, adding a moonsault to his moveset in his 50s. You know, the dude just took a path that nobody else took. And I think that's something that really needs to be appreciated with Terry Funk. But let's talk about the Funker first. Like I said at the beginning here, unfortunately, the wrestling world did lose Terry Funk yesterday, died at the age of 79. Terry was born on June 30th, 1944. Of course, he is the son of Dory Funk and the brother of Dory Funk Jr. He married his wife, Vicky, all the way back in 1965 before he even debuted in wrestling, and they stayed married until she passed away in 2019. He debuted the very same year he married Vicky, defeating Sputnik Monroe for his dad's Western States sports promotion back in Texas back in the day. He teamed with his brother, and they became huge draws in Texas. And, of course, back then, Terry was not the Terry Funk that he would be in his ECW days and his headband, branding, iron, crazy, wild, middle-aged, and crazy days. This is more of a technical wrestling style for Terry Funk and Dory Funk. That was, you know, what he was doing at the time, and he would transition into a brawler later on in his life. But he would wind up winning the NWA title in 1975, a few years after his brother won it before he did. But I think Dory Funk was supposed to get the title shot that night against Jack Briscoe, did not show up. Terry Funk replaced him and wound up winning the title and held the title for over a year, dropping it to Harley Race in 1977. So that was a big run for Terry that kind of he fell ass backwards into, and he defended the title against, you know, Pat O'Connor and Dusty Rhodes and Jack Briscoe, among others, and worked with a lot of legends there. And that long title run, I think, really solidified him as one of the top players in the business. And he also made a huge name for himself over in Japan as well, along with Dory Funk Jr. So he was off to Pretty big start there in the 70s. He had a stint in Continental Wrestling Association as well, feuding with Jerry Lawler, and that was one of the first, might have been the first empty arena match that they had at the Mid-South Coliseum, which was already a jacked and just rabid audience, a lot like the ECW audience in the 90s, only like 6 times bigger. And they were just so incredibly enthusiastic. And it was weird to see them try to do a show in that arena with no fans, when the fans is what really made that territory so special. But Lawler and Funk had that very, very brutal empty arena match. I'm not really sure if that was the first one ever or not, but definitely that's what Halftime Heat drew inspiration from. And it was probably around that time is when you saw Terry kind of move away from the technical master into the brawling maniac, because he would start to be that way by the time he got to WWE in like 1985. He came in around 85 and 86. He worked WrestleMania 2 with his brother Dory. They were calling him Haas Funk, and they worked and defeated Junkyard Dog and Tito Santana. And for those of you who are members of this channel, we have been watching the Saturday Night's Main Event episodes. We are on to episode 5 now. By the way, if you are a channel member, we're watching episode 5 this Saturday at the same time we are right now, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to watch episode 5 of Saturday Night's Main Event, and that is the show that pretty much sets up WrestleMania 2. But I think it was the show we did last, episode 3 or 4, that we just watched. We watched Hulk Hogan and Terry Funk for the championship on Saturday Night's Main Event. So that would have been during his stint here in 85 and 86. He would wind up leaving WWE and then joining WCW. And this is where he had that iconic feud with Ric Flair. Ric Flair had like just wrapped up his trilogy with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, winning the belt back from him. Terry Funk attacked Ric Flair and pile drived him through the table. That looked like shit, but it was a real table. And it was a pretty big spot, I guess, for the time when you're thinking about 1989. And that would lead to their I Quit match at the Clash of Champions in November of 89 that got a big 5-star rating from Uncle Dave. So a very memorable feud with Flair in 1989. But then he kind of went into more of an announcing role. He was doing color commentary. He had that Funk's Grill show, where they were kind of using him as like a piper. And I guess he didn't really like doing that. He wanted to get back in the ring. So he went and worked briefly in the USWA before returning to WCW in 94. And that's when he joined the Stud Stable. And that was Colonel Robert Parker's group with Bunkhouse Buck. Arn Anderson was in that. Ming, I think. And that year, I believe it was 94, was when Dusty got back in the ring, teamed with Dustin and the Nasty Boys. And it was the Nasty Dream. He wore like the Nasty Boys gear, and they faced the Stud Stable in that War Games match. So Terry and Dusty, had crossed paths in just about every decade possible here. After his run in WCW in 94, he would depart the company, and this is where the famous match would happen with Mick Foley in Japan. He entered this IWA King of the Death match tournament, which found him facing Cactus Jack in the finals. And this was one of the very first kind of like holy grail gems of tape trading. I'm proud to say I had a copy of this match because I got into tape trading around 97, 98, and I got a big box of shit from Japan, and this was in there. And it was crazy, the type of stuff, like, because it's not like you had the internet back then. So when you see a video of these guys doing this stuff, it's really hard for a brain to comprehend what you're looking at when you had no idea anything like this existed, if that makes any sense. Nowadays, the internet takes you anywhere you want to be, anywhere in the world, to look at any form of entertainment anywhere instantly. It was not like that 25 years ago. And first getting a look at these matches, actually the footage of these actual matches instead of stills in magazines, which is what I was used to up until that point, was really something crazy. And I think this is the match here that I think both Cactus and Terry benefited from in terms of solidifying their legacy of the gnarliest motherfuckers that this business has ever seen. Jack getting ears ripped off. Both of these guys have no trouble wrapping themselves in barbed wire, exploding body parts, bleeding buckets, countless amounts of stitches, just disgusting, brutal violence they are willing to do to themselves and to each other, I think is really what kind of made these two the hardcore legends that they would become. Granted, they would both do much gnarlier shit after this, but this match specifically is kind of one of those, just I don't want to stay mysterious, but kind of ominous matches that fans either know about or have seen a couple of quick little clips of or whatever, but most fans are aware that something real gnarly went down that night between Cactus Jack and Terry Funk, and it really, I think, made them and gave them that legacy heading into what they were going to do next. Mankind coming into WWE, working in ECW, and all that stuff. So that really elevated both of them in that regard, I believe. And he would go on. Terry Funk would be working for ECW pretty much right from the very beginning, even when they were still called Eastern Championship Wrestling. And he came in and was doing a lot to get their talent over. So much so that by the time they got rid of Todd Gordon and all that whole fiasco, and then changed to ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling, and made it all the way into 1997, getting their first pay-per-view Barely Legal, which I ordered on pay-per-view, by the way, and have fond memories of that night. And Terry Funk not only had to win, I think, a triple threat earlier on in the night, then he went in the main event to face Raven, and would wind up beating Raven in a really fun, wild, crazy first ever ECW pay-per-view, and ECW putting over this legend, giving him this moment after he had done so much to give back to everyone else. Terry Funk has never been the wrestler that you would hear things like, him pulling his creative control card, or "it doesn't work for me, brother," or "doesn't want a job, doesn't want to lose." This guy didn't give a shit about any of that. Any championships he was given or any matches he was won, it was the promoters insisting it, not the other way around. And I think this was Heyman saying, "You are going to be our fucking champion, and you are going to win this title at the next at our first pay-per-view." And of course, it would just be a couple of month run, and Terry would pass it back. But it was great. It was a great moment. One of my favorite pay-per-views ever, just because I had never purchased professional wrestling from anyone other than WWE at that point. Because even in 97, I don't think I had bought, oh, maybe I did. I might have bought one. But I did not buy any WCW pay-per-views, I think, until like late 96. So I had not paid for any other wrestling outside of WWE and like WCW once or twice, but that was it. So just to have something else to watch, a third alternative, because WWE and WCW, to their credit, they did look different from each other. That's what I like about WWE and AEW. They do feel like different vibes. And then you have this third, player coming in ECW, just kind of this renegade, and having Terry Funk at the center of all of this just seemed really, really, really perfect. It was that same year after he lost the title to Sabu, by the way, that he would have that first retirement match. And he had that show, I think, that he promoted in Amarillo, Texas. This was featured in Beyond the Mat, the Beyond the Mat movie with Dennis Stamp. I put on Twitter just a little while ago, do you think Dennis Stamp was waiting up there in the pearly gates and be like, "Sorry, Terry, you're not booked. See ya. You might want to go down there"? I don't know. Maybe Terry got ribbed at the Pearlies. You never know. Hopefully he did. Because I think a lot of us remember that whole match, not for the cool factor of Bret Hart facing Terry Funk, but everything surrounding Dennis Stamp and the trampoline and the weights and not being booked and all that stuff. But that retirement match was pretty interesting because, back in 97, now granted, I think Vince had already decided to let Bret go by that point. I think when this show happened, it was either right before or right after Vince told Bret he wanted out of his contract anyway. But the fact that Bret was able to go down and work against Terry, and that's such a perfect example and good illustration of how he felt about himself and his career, is that he always was taking losses. And this was a night that he insisted, "I have to lose. I'm not going to retire and beat the world champion, beat the man that currently right now most people feel is the best wrestler in the world, or one of them." And that wouldn't be right. And even in his hometown, in front of his family, his friends, everybody he grew up with, his whole goddamn life is in this building, and he still wants to take a loss to the champion, because that's what professionals do. And if Hulk Hogan ever has one of these things, he ain't doing that. Did you guys? Oh my God, we're gonna have to talk about his stupid interview that he did. I don't even know who it was with, but I've seen a few clips of it today, where the homeboy sets the record for lies told easily in this thing. It's like every sentence, lie, 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 lie. "I discovered Brock," and me and Jimmy Hart had a #1 Billboard album after a kid at Wembley Stadium died. Like, he is just making shit up, saying anything. I don't think Hulk Hogan quite understands that people can fact check you. But anyway, Terry Funk is not Hulk Hogan, and this retirement here in '97 was a pretty good example of that. And then, of course, the Beyond the Mat feature there, chronicling Terry and his long career and kind of following him around as he leads up to that match, him with his family and all of that, and just showing just kind of what a wild guy Terry Funk was. I mean, he was crazy sometimes when he was just sitting there. I'll never forget it was after the ECW Barely Legal show that was featured in Beyond the Mat after Terry wins the title, and Tommy Dreamer's sitting there with him, and they give Funk like a beer, and he just slams it like he's been in the Sahara all day and you gave him a bottle of water. And that thing is just gliding down his throat. I'm like, if I'm dying of thirst, I'm going to drink some water first, then I'm going to have a cold beverage. But he just downed that beer like nothing I've ever seen. Dude was hardcore for real. But of course, Terry Funk doesn't retire. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know who the hell he thought he was fooling that day. But he wasn't going to retire. As a matter of fact, he was back in 3 months in the WWE with pantyhose on his head, debuting, coming out of a box, because that's the way you debut, as Chainsaw Charlie. And you knew the minute he popped out of that, I'm like, that's Terry Funk. Even if he had his face completely covered, which the pantyhose still, you could kind of tell it was Terry, but even if he had like a lucha mask on, the way he was flailing around and running around, you knew instantly. Anybody who knows anything about Terry Funk and has followed his career or watched his matches or watched his mannerisms and everything he does would know in 2 seconds that quivering mound of crazy is Terry Funk. And I remember kind of being a little bit butthurt about it at first. Like, why are they calling him Chainsaw Charlie? Like, how stupid do they think their audience is? And then I think maybe originally they did want him to be the full-on Chainsaw Charlie gimmick, but it just wasn't, where everybody knew that was Terry Funk. And I think relatively quickly WWE was acknowledging that he was Terry Funk because the fans aren't stupid. And they had that feud with the New Age Outlaws. They got pushed off the ramp on Monday Night Raw in the dumpster, toppled over. That was a great spot and great segment, something we hadn't really seen, to where that kind of got the Outlaws on the map of somebody you don't want to play with. And it caught the eye of D-Generation X as well. And that would lead to their big dumpster match at WrestleMania 14, Terry Funk's second WrestleMania now. And this time he becomes a champion. A lot of people forget that Terry Funk and Cactus Jack won the tag team championships that night. Sometimes I forget it. But of course they would win, and then on a technicality, because they didn't use the same dumpster, they would, I guess, either hold up the belts or whatever they did, and they would have the cage match the next night on Monday Night Raw, where the New Age Outlaws won the titles back and joined D-Generation X. And that would kind of end the partnership between Foley and Cactus Jack, as Mick Foley would then transition into his Dude Love character again to face Stone Cold Steve Austin in that feud that would go through Unforgiven and Over the Edge. But now Terry Funk is pretty much out. He did work a little bit. He had what did he do? Teamed up with Bradshaw a little bit. Maybe, was it Scorpio? And I think of Ron Simmons' team with Scorpio. Funk hung around to do a couple of things. And one of the coolest things he did was after Mick Foley's second match with Austin, I think it was at the Over the Edge pay-per-view, they had a Raw taping in Richmond, Virginia. This would have been on a Tuesday. And I think I was at Raw the previous night. I just can't remember what city that was in. But the Raw taping was a Tuesday, and it was at the Richmond Coliseum. And this was when Vince was pissed at Mick Foley for losing. And then he kind of manipulates Foley to annihilating his best friend, Terry Funk, and books them in a Falls Count Anywhere match, something like that. And this is all part of what would kind of transition Foley, I think, into that Mankind character with the tie. That was kind of all the start of this. Or was this after, maybe this was after, it was after Unforgiven, not Over the Edge. I'm misremember. That's right. I went all the shows. That was a crazy weekend for me. So Unforgiven that year in 98 was a Sunday. I went to the house show on Saturday that I think was maybe in Fayetteville. Then we had the pay-per-view in Greensboro on Sunday. Then I'm pretty sure we went to Raw the next night in Hampton. That was the night of the DX invasion of WCW. I was there for that. Then the night after that was the Tuesday in Richmond, in the Richmond Coliseum. And that's when they did the Love Shack shit. And Vince makes Foley work with Funk, Falls Count Anywhere, and Austin was the special guest announcer. That's right. That had to all come back to me in my head there. And anyway, the cool part about that is I was on the first level. So I wasn't on the floor, but I was one level up and I was right on the rail. And there's a spot in the match where they're brawling and there's like a popcorn machine or something. I'm right above that. And they came right past me and brawled. And it was like one of the coolest. I've seen Terry Funk wrestle in person a few times. This by far is my favorite match because it was kind of famous. Like this is a really well-remembered match from that time. And it was a big part of the Austin and McFoley feud. And it did such a great job of tying into the history between Cactus Jack and Terry Funk, everything they've done prior to coming to WWE, and then the alliance with Chainsaw Charlie and WrestleMania and all of that. And then this big, brutal match that Terry Funk loses and Foley beats him. And that was a really, really cool match to witness live. So that was, that was kind of the end of Terry Funk, aside from a few things he might do in WWE, until he would, come back periodically. He did a little promo with Mick Foley in the mid-2000s or something, right? So Funk would come in and out in WWE a little bit here and there, but this was kind of the last time I remember him actually being there as a regular contracted talent and worker. He would return to ECW in 1999. I think that had something to do with the Tommy Dreamer heel turn. And then he would work WCW. He would return to WCW again. That was probably around 99 or 2000. You guys can help me out with that. And I know he won the hardcore title like 3 times. He won the US title. He was the on-screen commissioner and he formed the Old Age Outlaws. Or he was a part of the Old Age Outlaws. So Terry Funk, even in the late 90s, early 2000s, was still doing stuff. I mean, he was still working all 3 promotions. From 1994 to 2000, he had 2 stints in WCW, 2 stints in ECW, and a stint in WWE. He basically worked the 3 promotions 5 different times within 6 years. That's a lot. He's always doing stuff, and he would work, make appearances for Ring of Honor, MLW. He was doing indies all the way until his final stages of his career, anything just to, give back. And that's what he did. And he did it a lot. He's one of those guys that really never truly retired until he just couldn't physically do it anymore. He literally went until the end. And that's pretty incredible. But he had a career that spanned beyond wrestling. This dude was all over the place. He had a SAG card, got lifetime insurance. He got a cameo on one of Sylvester Stallone's early shows, Paradise Alley, where they became friends. Then Stallone gave him a role in Over the Top. And of course, he was also in Roadhouse, very famous Patrick Swayze movie in 1989. And something I didn't know, he choreographed the final fight in what's considered the worst Rocky movie, Rocky V. I didn't hate Rocky V that much. I didn't really like that they made him poor again or whatever, but I didn't really hate the story. I thought the ending montage to the Elton John song in the credits was just phenomenal, looking back at all the movies. But that fight between Rocky and Tommy Morrison, who was passed away in the streets, was choreographed by Terry Funk. Never knew that. He also released like a couple of country albums in 1983 and 1984. So he also had albums that he released. And so between the acting and the cameos and the country singing, he did a shitload of commercials, for a lot of local Texas businesses and car dealerships and things like that. He was a celebrity around his area, but he was such a wild and interesting and unique person in terms of how he looked and how rugged and crazy he was. He was the perfect guy to cast in movies. It was a perfect crazy person to cast. And he was able to accomplish a lot and do a lot without ever, having to step on throats, without having to have the reputation of somebody that's got an ego that's overly inflated. Even Ric Flair drives me crazy. Ric Flair's just completely nuts and he complains about the dumbest things and he's so self-fucking centered. And then yesterday he tweets out, "Shame on you, ESPN. Terry Funk died, and here you are talking about a college player that died." I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Why are you yelling at ESPN? Why are you yelling at them? Terry Funk's death has been reported all across news. You couldn't miss it. My dad even texted me, "Hey, did you see Terry Funk died?" And he doesn't even watch wrestling. So people knew about it. It's just, things like that about Ric Flair is what makes Ric Flair insufferable. It's like, just shut up. Shut the fuck up. Your friend died. A lot of your fellow peers' friend died as well. The fans have lost an icon. The last thing you need to be doing is tweeting with the first letter of each word capitalized for whatever fucking reason he does that. complaining about something that shouldn't even concern you. Shut up, Ric Flair. Goddamn. That's why I like Terry Funk better than you, because Terry Funk isn't this fucking stupid. And I love Terry Funk. And we have lost a big one here. And this is, you think of some of the big icons that have passed away in the past couple of years, Dusty Rhodes, Roddy Piper. Jesus, help me out. Why am I Pat Patterson? We've lost Gene Okerlund, kind of somewhat recently, and we still have Flair and Hogan, are still here, but there is going to come a time when they are going to pass away. And regardless of what they're doing in their personal lives, or how bad they piss me off with their behavior, how stupid they are, we're never going to be able to ignore the careers of either one of those guys and how monumental they were to the business. But what I like about Terry Funk is he had a career so influential and so well traveled without having a lot of the ugliness attached to it. Like, you never just heard, like, the crazy stories you heard about Terry Funk were like the good kind of crazy. He was just a wild guy. You have to be crazy to be in this business. So the fact that anybody can have a career like his that spanned so many decades, where he was actually in the ring, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and 2010s for sure. So that we're talking 6 decades, this guy had feet in the ring. And during that time, he was he was the son of a wrestler, son of a promoter, became a technical master, won the National Wrestling Alliance Championship, and then slowly kind of morphed into a wilder, crazier brawling style. The mean Texan with the branding iron and the cowboy hat, that could get nuts and get gnarly and just would not care, and then elevate that even more during the birth of ECW, following those Texas death matches and all of that stuff. And then, everything else he did, late in his life, still being able to, in his 60s and 50s, being able to have runs in WWE and ECW and WCW was just absolutely incredible. And he was a character. No one is ever going to be like him. And he was 100% one of the wildest wrestlers we've ever seen. I think of, like, if Brody would have been able to have a 40-year run, what we'd be saying about him today. It's really a shame what happened to him. But Terry Funk is one of those guys that just, no matter what kind of age you are, because we've had a lot of wrestlers that have died, and I've come up here during podcasts and said, a lot of you younger fans might not know this guy. So let me tell you what my memories are. You may never heard of him, maybe never watched him wrestle, but I did. Let me share my thoughts. I think I don't have to educate any of you in this chat on who Terry Funk is. It's almost impossible to not know who he is, no matter what age you are as a wrestling fan. And he's one of the true icons. And this business lost a big one yesterday. So rest in peace to Terry Funk. Thoughts and condolences go out to his family and his kids and all of the wrestlers that he touched and worked with. Because as you've seen, we saw yesterday too, the tributes and the love pouring out from the wrestling community. A lot of it was like younger wrestlers that got a chance to meet him over the last 10 or 20 years. So I shouldn't say younger wrestlers, but not old wrestlers, today's generation guys who has pictures with him, got a chance to speak to him, hang out with him, get knowledge from him, maybe even be lucky enough to work a match with him. You're seeing a lot of that, from wrestlers that are still in this generation today. And that's pretty awesome. And of course, AEW last night ran a nice little opening still shot tribute to him, CM Punk. At the end of Collision that they taped last night as well, did a nice little post-show in-ring tribute to Terry Funk, which was also very nice looking from the pictures that I've seen. And we've seen, like I said, a lot of love on social media. And I'm sure tomorrow WWE will offer a very, very nice tribute to Funk on Friday Night SmackDown. I would expect from WWE a lot more than a still graphic. We're probably going to get a video package of some kind tributing Terry Funk, and that's going to be really cool. So unless they've already put one up on social media, they may have. But I think tomorrow, WWE should pay a really nice tribute to the Funker. So rest in peace, Terry Funk. Utmost respect from this wrestling fan. It's hard for me. I turned 46 in 2 weeks. And so many of, my childhood, so much of it, just bit by bit, piece by piece, dies. And it's hard. It's hard when you get to be this age and you see that happening and you just kind of wish you could go back and live again when they were, in their prime and doing stuff and entertaining you. It's rough. It's rough. So wrestling world has lost another one. Rest in peace to Terry Funk. Let's talk about Edge. Adam Copeland released a video today on social media from what appeared to be his nice, beautiful, awesome porch in Asheville, North Carolina, kicking back on his rocking chair. And he basically tried to refute the story that was floating around yesterday. I think Pro Wrestling Torch was the first to report that Edge did have some parameters, or he let WWE know what it would take to retain his services, and WWE declined. And that led many to believe that he is, in fact, heading to AEW. And then Edge in the video today says, and he's still home, so he can still make it all in, but he's going to have to leave like tomorrow. He said, I woke up to a lot of emails, a lot of text messages from my friends who are reading this story and wanting to know what's up. And he goes, there's nothing that's up. And he denied the report that WWE refused to match his offer or whatever. He says he has a WWE contract extension sitting in his inbox, and he just doesn't know what to do. He's got to just think about it. He doesn't know if his future includes wrestling or anything like that, and basically tried to put all of that to rest. Now, what I love about this is that you can never really trust Edge. Back in December of 2019, he tweeted something to the effect, I'm not coming back. It's not happening. Get over it, or something like that. And 1 month later, he's showing up in the Royal Rumble. Edge is of the generation, like a Jericho, that if he is going to make some big bombshell surprise, you are going to do whatever you can do to throw people off the trail. And hey, maybe if I release a disheveled video from my porch at home with bedhead, 48 hours before a show in London, fans aren't going to think that I'm going to be able to make it there in time or whatever. And the cool thing about all of this is we don't know. Now, a lot of people are, jumping out of their seats to salivate and attack like the news reporting. Oh, I thought they said it was, don't worry about that. That's not important. I like the fact that we kind of don't know. You can watch that video from Edge and it makes you smile because it's really heartfelt. It's always nice to hear Edge talk. He's such a down-to-earth fellow. He's just a nice guy. And, when he's speaking and talking about these things, it just makes you happy to see him talk about how appreciative he was of WWE for the night that they gave him on Friday night. He beat Sheamus. It's not like he had a job out on his way out. They gave him a huge tribute, 25-year celebration, amazingly well-produced video package. He wins in the main event, beating one of their top current stars. That's not generally how you treat somebody that's going to bounce to your competition. So I think it's very possible that Edge does not show up at All In and that he is not going to AEW, at least immediately. Maybe in the future, or maybe when his actual physical contract is actually up, because as we heard, it was only his matches that are over. His contract still runs through September. So if he is going to make some appearance at All In, that means that contract information is wrong, or WWE had to do him a solid and said, all right, go ahead, go have your fun. It's cool. And we talked about that last week, about those potential possibilities. So, with Edge, if I'm Edge and he is going to be appearing at All In, basically, if I'm Edge, I'm making this video regardless of what I'm doing. Because if I'm not going, then yeah, you get a video out there letting everybody know nothing's going on, chill out, relax. I'm home, I'm fine, I've got some thinking to do. But if you are going to All In and the wrestling world is starting to sniff that out and they're starting to anticipate it, then you make the same video. Nothing's going on, not going anywhere. So I kind of like the fact that Edge made a video that made me smile and also made me think that he's full of shit. And I really hope that he's full of shit, because I would love to see him show up at All In. And if you notice, last night on Dynamite, one of the things we talked about in the last podcast, I said, well, if Edge does show up at All In, Christian, from what I understand, is not even booked on the show. So how do they work that in? It just seems like anything Edge would do would have to be Christian related. For him coming in just randomly, I just feel like it's got to involve Christian. Well, Christian's on the card now. Christian's on the card in a coffin match. I don't know how they would pull it off, but how cool would it be? In the casket match days of WWE, a couple of times they'd done the thing where somebody has appeared in the casket, mind games. They lifted up the casket and Undertaker was in it. They had like a trap door, and he got in. And then they've done spots where Undertaker gets locked in the casket, then they open it and he's gone. So if you can do something like that to where Edge is under the ring, and then throughout the course of the match, Christian's got the match in control. He's about to put Sting in the casket, and he goes over to lift up the lid and Edge pops out. think of the pop. Because I've always been wondering, if Edge did appear, first of all, what's his name going to be? And what music is he going to come out to? And I was thinking that Tony Khan probably could pony up for the Rob Zombie song, and that would fit just fine. That would be great. Great callback. But maybe you don't have to worry about that yet. Maybe just having Edge come out of the casket or the coffin. I love that AEW calls them coffin matches instead of casket matches. I like that. It's a small touch, but it sets it apart. And if Edge comes out of the coffin, that would just imagine that ovation. That would be, I think, a better surprise almost, because Tony Khan would want a big surprise for Edge and everything, or a big surprise at All In general, anything you can do. But since we don't even know what Edge's name is going to be, what music he's going to come out to, or anything like that, I don't know what you could do that would immediately clue the Wembley audience in that Edge is coming out, unless there's some beatdown happening in the ring and the entire arena is chanting Edge, Edge, Edge. But that would be tough to do if his name isn't going to be Edge. You know what I mean? If you start getting those fans chanting Edge, he's not going to be Edge. He's going to be Adam or something else, unless there has been some amazingly monumental agreement between the two companies where WWE is actually letting Edge be Edge, which I don't think happened. It would be a lot to explain for Excalibur at once if music started hitting. Oh my God, that's, Adam Copeland. I don't even know if they can say Edge. Can they say formerly known as Edge? Because I would think if Edge came into AEW, he'd immediately cut a promo on TV saying Edge is dead. And I would love them to actually acknowledge it. And Adam is like, look, I have to be Adam here. I can't be Edge here. You guys understand that, right? Like, just play it cool. Instead of trying to just give him a different name, and try to pretend that he never was known as Edge, just be upfront with it. As long as that's not against any intellectual property laws or bullshit or whatever, if Adam can just be like, I'm Adam here, you guys know I can't be Edge, I think that would be a really fun way of addressing it instead of trying to, do it the typical wrestling way. So, if music started playing and he came out, Excalibur would have to be, that's Adam Copeland, formerly known as Edge, or something like that. I just think coming out of the casket or coffin would be a much more like in-your-face surprise, because then you don't have to explain a whole lot. You can just you don't have music to explain or anything like that. You can figure all that out. Adam can make his music and promo debut on TV after this. Popping out of the casket is quick, it's fast, it gives the fans a huge surprise, probably creates one of the biggest pops of the night. He can either fight off Christian or stand with him and turn heel and swerve everyone, or something like that. But likely, he would probably battle Christian, fight him off, and celebrate with Darby and Sting in front of the crowd. And then that makes his debut something that gave the crowd a big thrill and a big surprise, but yet didn't take away from any of the talent backstage, taking up time to do a big long entrance and a big promo and soaking it in from the crowd. Edge got to soak in a lot in Toronto, and he said in his little video today that was the greatest night of his career. So for him to then go out and need to soak in another big entrance in front of 80,000, that's a little bit excessive. Come out of the coffin. Come out of the coffin. That's what I hope Edge does. If he shows up at All In at all, I would have him come out of the coffin. But if not, then maybe we'll see him after his contract is up. Who knows? But I just feel like AEW needs to make this show memorable beyond just the fact that 80,000 people are there. That's why I really want to have a big swerve in the main event. I'm hoping Adam Cole wins the title and they do a big swerve and that type of shit. And maybe they set up Adam Cole and CM Punk title for title down the road. I would love to see that. But you also need some things happening throughout the show. Maybe the Acclaimed winning the Trios title with Mr. Ass or Badass would be awesome, and a quick little appearance by Adam Copeland would be a huge signing, a huge get, an icon, Hall of Famer, megastar, fresh off a hot ass run in WWE, now coming in to be a part of this show. That's pretty incredible. That would be pretty incredible. So I hope that Adam Copeland shows up, but whether he does or doesn't, I just want Adam to do what Adam wants to do. And best of luck to Edge in whatever you do. Nothing about his video today made me upset or maybe mad at the dirt sheets or maybe it made me attack a journalist. You know why? Because I have a life and there's no time in my life for stupid shit like that. I enjoy speculation. I enjoy not knowing exactly what's going to happen. And I don't want Edge to be spotted at the airport or anything like that. I don't want to know this. I want to speculate and think about what might happen, but I don't want to know for sure. And with Edge, we've already seen that he does not mind working us. He does not mind lying to our face. So if you are watching that Edge video and you're taking everything he says at face value and you're attacking a journalist for misreporting something, just remember that he did the same shit back in 2019 and he came back at the Royal Rumble. So shut up. Edge, best of luck to you, my friend. All right, let's talk about AEW Dynamite real quick last night. Let me cruise to the chat and make sure everything is okay. All right, we are good so far. Please do me a favor, smash Mr. Thumbs Up button for me. I would very much appreciate that. It is now time to briefly, we're not going to spend a ton of time on it, briefly recap last night's Dynamite, and then we are going to predict AEW All In. We spent the first, 45 minutes here talking about the late, great Terry Funk, and now it is on to Dynamite and All In. So last night's Dynamite was interesting. We're not going to talk about everything here, just a few key moments here. So the show opened up with Kenny and the Bucks taking on Juice Robinson and the Gun Boys, or the Ass Boys. This was a no contest, just brawling. Bell never even rang, I don't think. And the whole thing was highlighted by Takeshita hitting the ring, attacking Kenny, Kenny turning the tables, getting him up in the one-winged angel, and Takeshita escapes. So these guys are going to be on opposite sides of the six-man at All In, but I think they're going to be booking the one-on-one for All Out, most likely, right? It's going to be Kenny and Takeshita at All Out in Chicago. That's what I think they're going to do. That's probably when that one-winged angel is going to hit, and Takeshita might even escape it at All In as well. Moxley took on Ray Phoenix. Now, it was reported earlier on in the day or earlier on in the week that Ray Phoenix, who was originally booked for the Stadium Stampede, is not going to be able to make the match due to work visa issues or whatever. So they kind of hinted at that. Tony Khan actually did on the media call. He said that they were going to address and write an explanation for Phoenix on Dynamite, which is what they did. Moxley defeated him after the match. The Blackpool Combat Club injured him with a crowbar. And then Eddie and the Best Friends, I think, try to come out to make the save, and that's when Ortiz shows up first to kind of block, I think it's Eddie and the Best Friends, block their path to the ring. And we haven't seen Ortiz in a while. And then Santana's music plays, and he comes from the entranceway. And he's coming back. And this was not a very well done return, I have to say. I'm really happy Proud and Powerful are back. I really hope there's been some sort of a backstage reconciliation between these two, because they did have some major falling out and they were no longer friends, and this was made public. But that was a year ago, and now they're back and they're kind of on the same team here. So maybe we've seen a reconciliation. I don't know. If you watch the two of their body languages last night, they didn't really interact with each other at all. So it kind of looks like, I don't know what's going on there. But Santana almost comes out as if he's going to help and join Eddie, only to turn on him. So both members of Proud and Powerful turn on Eddie Kingston and join the Blackpool Combat Club. So now, since the Blackpool Combat Club still needed to name 3 more partners for the Stadium Stampede, and since Ray Phoenix was knocked out of his team, leaving them with 5, Santana and Ortiz now makes 5 with BCC. So I think instead of 6-on-6, it's going to be 5-on-5, and the teams now are set. Claudio, Mox, Yuta, Proud and Powerful against Eddie, Orange Cassidy, Best Friends, and Penta now, who I think is going to be replacing Ray Phoenix, right? Ray Phoenix is just eliminated. They were both in there. Ray Phoenix is eliminated from the team. It's just 5-on-5. That's what I just said. So it's interesting with Santana and Ortiz back. I'm happy to see them back. Santana looked great. Looked like he kind of maybe put on a little muscle or something. Looked really good. But I'm more interested, really, to be honest with you, in what's going on with them behind the scenes, because last we heard they were not on good terms. And if they're actually coming back here as a team, that means they have to try to be a tag team while kind of disliking each other. I know you have to put that shit aside and go out there and do your job, but that really has got to be hard for tag team partners. So I hope whatever's going on with them personally, behind the scenes, they've worked it out, because I really feel that it was a crime that they have never been AEW World Tag Team Champions. And if they were able to come back, kind of have a rebirth, get back on the same page, personally and professionally, I'd love to see them have a run with the AEW tags at some point. They deserved it a couple years ago. Never got it. Man, how good was that Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay contract signing? I was at work during Dynamite last night, unfortunately, so I didn't see the show live, but I was peeking at my phone, and I turned it on, or I opened it up right as Will Ospreay was speaking, and I'm like, oh my God, that was fire. And then last night when I got home, Elizabeth and I watched Dynamite and caught that promo again. Really liked that. This promo made me care about this match all of a sudden. I did not care at all about this match whatsoever before Will Ospreay opened his mouth. And, him talking about how important this match is for him and how if he beats Jericho, when he beats Jericho, he will have defeated Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, and Chris Jericho within 2 months. That's pretty awesome. And most people believe that Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world. And I think Chris Jericho at his age, if there's anybody in the wrestling world that can pull a match out of Jericho worthy of 80,000 fans, Ospreay is the only guy. So basically, if Ospreay can't do it, nobody can. This match, I think, might surprise a lot of people, could perhaps be a little bit of a show stealer, although I don't know how long it's going to go because apparently Jericho and Fozzy are going to perform Judas. So I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know if they're going to perform Judas separately from the match, because how can Jericho perform the song, his entrance song, unless he might do that. That's what they're going to do, isn't it? Jericho, I hope you do some cardio, man. That's going to be tough. So are they going to have Fozzy playing on the stage, jamming, with Jericho singing as he's walking to the ring? I think that's what they're going to do. That's actually kind of cool. So unfortunately, though, I've actually never been a huge fan of live entrances because I've always felt like the recorded versions sound better. Like when Motorhead, God bless Motorhead and Lemmy, but when he sang Triple H to the ring, the only thing that really fit was his voice. The music in the background didn't have the same, energy and bass and all of that. So Fozzy might not sound that great. Remember how shitty the DX song sounded at WrestleMania 14? That type of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. So I feel like Fozzy hopefully will be good. But if Jericho is actually going to sing as he's walking down that long ramp to the ring, he might get blowed up before he even gets in there with Will Ospreay. So just Jericho, be careful. Spend some time on that treadmill as much as possible, you old man. But that match is going to be fun, and I think they really did a great job setting that up in the contract signing last night. And Will Ospreay acknowledging the fact that in 6 months, his New Japan contract is up, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility at all that he goes to WWE, because by then the Endeavor sale will be completed, and this little miniature hiring freeze or this spending freeze the company seems to be on at the moment might not be in place in 6 months when Ospreay is free, and we might actually have quite the bidding war. By the time we get to WrestleMania, where is MJF and Will Ospreay going to be? Going to be a fun few months. But I like Will Ospreay a lot. If he went to WWE, that would be really, really awesome because there's just a plethora of things he could do there. But the wrestling fan in me just feels like I might prefer him in AEW. I don't know. Got to think about it. Either way, he's going to do just fine financially with whatever his next contract is. Weird shit went on here. We had Darby and Nick Wayne defeating Swerve, Strickland, and AR Fox. Now, AR Fox just a couple of weeks ago turned heel and joined the Mogul Embassy, but after the match, since Fox took the pin, he was fired by Swerve and beaten up until by the rest of Brian Cage was out there, and then Darby and Sting came back to make the save. Darby helped up AR Fox and tells him he loves him. And then Christian comes out. Because Darby told Swerve, what are you going to do in the coffin match? Because your partner's with us now. And that's when Christian comes out to basically be the replacement for AR Fox. And without any solicitation whatsoever, just immediately targets Nick Wayne and makes fun of him for his dad passing away. Way to go, Christian. What a dick. He did the same thing to Jungle Boy. Unreal. So, Christian just being a monumental douche. Adam popping out of that coffin, I'm just saying. After that, we had the Acclaimed coming down to the ring, and they brought out Billy Gunn, who showed up, and as we figured that he wasn't really retired, and he said the House of Black desecrated his boots and all that nonsense, and that at All In, they're going to have one more shot at those trios titles, but it's not going to be daddy ass. It's going to be badass. And, Billy Gunn is 59 years old, I think, right? He's very old, but did you notice his hand was trembling a lot? Because Could just be nerves. You know, you're out there in front of a live audience, you tend to get nervous or whatever. But Billy's not somebody that really should be nervous. He's been doing this for a long time, but his hand was trembling a lot there. So I hope everything is okay there. And I think that we'll talk about it in a minute, but I think you gotta make that moment for Wembley. There's been a couple of moments that I think were robbed from the Acclaimed, and this is one that they need to have, I think, at All In. MJF and Adam Cole were up to more of the same. They did MJF in the sit down with Renee, and talking a lot of what he's been saying before, but about the friendship and the relationship with Adam Cole. And they're building up to some sort of big climax here at All In. And Roddy was also on the show, kind of teasing something for All In. We're going to find out who the real Adam Cole and MJF are. And when you combine that with what we would see later in the main event with Aussie Open defeating the Hardy Boys, getting the win there, MJF and Cole coming out to brawl with them. And when that whole deal was over, MJF pulling out the dynamite diamond ring, putting it on his finger, putting apparently Bray Wyatt has passed away. I don't know what to make of this, guys. We are midstream here. Oh, God. Ooh, okay. Just pardon us for pausing here, guys. We're right in the middle of what we're talking about here. And unless people are trolling, it's not looking like they are. I am getting... It's just... Okay, Triple H, 14 minutes ago. And I quote, this is a tweet. I just received a call from WWE Hall of Famer Mike Rotundo, who informed us of the tragic news that our WWE family member for life, Wyndham Rotundo, also known as Bray Wyatt, unexpectedly passed away earlier today. Our thoughts are with his family, and we ask that everyone respect their privacy at this time. I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, we just spent the first 45 minutes of this podcast tributing Terry Funk. And this is horrible. Just bear with me, guys, while we collect our thoughts here. I'm really sorry for this interruption, but we have just been hit with breaking news right in the middle of our stream that Bray Wyatt apparently has passed away. Triple H just sent out a tweet saying that he was informed by Mike Rotundo that he passed away unexpectedly. There has been a lot of questions and speculation about Bray Wyatt's health. We've heard that whatever health issue he was dealing with was a serious one and was a life-threatening one. However, we had heard reports recently that he was on the verge of returning to the ring. And so this news is very unexpected. I dare not speculate about anything here. It would be gross to do that. So I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to speculate how this happened. I'm just floored by this, and I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. I think as we get more information about this, we will talk about this more. I'll probably come up, maybe tomorrow and talk a little bit more about this if we learn any more. But right now, oh man, that's just heartbreaking. I mean, we've had some breaking news during podcasts before. This is easily the biggest thing that's ever happened in the middle of one of our shows. My God. Yeah, that's something that you just kind of don't expect. We just talked about how Terry Funk lived a nice full life and how it felt so good to be able to tribute and remember and celebrate a man without like a dark cloud of tragedy hanging over his death, because of how many times, what did I say? I said, how many times as wrestling fans have we been kicked right in the balls with steel toe boots over and over and over again? And I was so happy to be able to talk about Terry Funk in a way that didn't involve some sort of dark tragedy. And before we even finish this podcast, we've been kicked in the nuts again. Yeah, that's rough, man. That's rough. My immediate comments is just condolences to his friends and his family and his fans. Lots of them, you know? Oh my God. Absolutely crushing. Absolutely crushing. Yeah. So for those just tuning in, it has just been reported less than 20 minutes ago that Bray Wyatt, real name Wyndham Rotundo, unexpectedly passed away earlier today. That's all I can say on it because I don't know anything else. We got the news in the middle of the stream. On a day that we're just finished tributing Terry Funk, we still have to predict All In, which I'm going to really lack the energy to do that now. But we're going to do it. And let's just keep the friends and family of Wyndham Rotundo in our thoughts as we finish this podcast. And then I will try to elaborate more on this tragedy tomorrow. Maybe we'll come up and talk about Bray Wyatt completely separately. But there's never been a better example of the phrase, I got to wrap my head around this because I can't. I was driving to work when Brody Lee died. I was on the freeway and I had my phone up on my dash there where I could see it. And I see Twitter. And I hit it. And I see the news. Man, yeah. I'm sorry for all the silence here. I'm just trying to collect myself, bearing straight, that type of thing. We still have to predict AEW All In, which I'm going to do right now. But it's really hard to kind of focus. You know, it's a wide range of emotions we've faced already just in this podcast today. So, yeah, this is really awful. This is really awful. Oh my God. Never ends, does it? Never ends. We got 2/3 of the original Wyatt family waiting in line with Funk to get in them pearlies. Dennis Stamps blocking everybody's entrance up there. But yeah, prayers for Eric Rowan. Let me knock out these couple of super chats real quick. I think the super chats was what informed me about this. Yeah, I see a lot of people saying the Bray Wyatt stuff. Look at the chat. Thank you, Canyon Price, for the $2 shooting up that red flag about Bray Wyatt. That's the first one that caught my eye. Steeler Lee, 2 from you. Prayers for Eric Rowan. Absolutely. Yeah. Juliet, I was watching a Solid Monster watch along when word came of Briscoe's passing. Yeah, I'm sure other YouTubers like myself have probably been online when some tragedy has broken. But this was a really hard one to react to. I had to make sure it wasn't a troll or anything like that. I thought it was a joke. But then the way a few of you, and then I saw Sean Ross Sapp tweeted something and went over to Twitter for confirmation and saw the Triple H tweet. And that one's hard to process. I don't even think this is going to even sink in with me until I get out of here and I separate myself from this and think about it. But yeah, I don't know what to say. Rest in peace, Bray Wyatt. Let's predict All In because we have to do this. I only got about 30 minutes left and we got to get out of here. And maybe in that time we might learn a little bit more about Bray Wyatt. But we are going to do our best here to predict All In and try to move on here as best we can with getting blasted in the face with probably the worst possible news you could ever hear. One of our most beloved wrestlers, somebody that is probably more creatively unique than anybody else we've ever seen, unexpectedly passed away at an extremely young age, and we don't have any answers as of yet. So don't know what it is. It's just sad. AEW All In this Sunday, Wembley Stadium. Like I said, the visual here, I think, of just the fans, the size, the sheer magnitude of this show is something that that AEW should be really, really proud of. And I think that It needs to be a show that's going to be remembered. So it can't just be about the fans. You have to deliver good quality wrestling, some surprises, some title changes, swerves, heel turns, all that stuff. I think you need to deliver big, and I'm confident AEW will. Now, on the 0 hour, one of the matches we're going to see is Jungle Jack Perry taking on Hook for the FTW title. That is the one spoiler I didn't want to give you earlier, but on Collision on Saturday, you will see a segment with Jungle Boy attempting to retire the FTW title that leads to the announcement of this match. So in that match, I kind of predict Hook. I think Hook's going to take the title back, and I think maybe they should retire the championship. Maybe what Jack Perry has in mind is something they're actually going to do. And maybe having Taz get involved in this too, since he's an ECW guy, would be a perfect way to, to maybe put the belt back on Hook, and then Hook can have a ceremony on Dynamite where he officially retires the FTW title, since it's not a non-sanctioned AEW belt anyway, or since it's not a sanctioned belt. So maybe they do that, or maybe Hook just keeps it and carries it around forever. We will see. But I think Hook will probably get that belt back from Jack Perry. Aussie Open taking on MJF and Adam Cole for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. Now, I think something's going to happen in this match that's going to have an effect on the main event. I don't think MJF and Adam Cole are going to win the tag team titles here. I think if they were going to win the tag team titles, they just win the AEW ones. And I'm expecting, we've been trying to sniff out what they're doing. We know there's going to be some shady finish with one of these guys turning on the other one, but with Roderick Strong getting involved and being really pissed at Adam Cole for his friendship with MJF and getting almost overly pissed off about it to where it's borderlining on the insane. That's got to play a role here. And I think, like I said a few weeks ago, I'm like, it feels like it's going to be Adam Cole turning and forming like a new empire with Bennett and Taven and Roddy. And it's going to be Cole, the one to turn heel on a vulnerable MJF. And I think maybe one way to help that swerve along is to have like Roderick come out and cost MJF and Cole the match, to where they lose, they don't win the titles, but they're not going to be blaming each other. It's going to be more Roddy's fault, and it's going to be all part of the swerve. And then you get to the main event, which we'll talk about later. And those are the two matches booked for the 0 hour. If I want to see either one of those two matches, I need to get up at 9 a.m. on Sunday. So I will be up very early. By the way, the link to Sunday's All-In Review is up on the channel. Please go there, click it, save it. We will be up here probably an hour or two after the show goes off the air. So I'm not going to be up here with all the YouTubers. I'm going to kind of come up on my own time later, and we'll do a full review of All In, and that link is up. Main card. In no particular order here, I guess we'll start off with the Golden Elite versus Takeshita, Jay White, and Juice Robinson. Look at that field there. Look at that talent. Kenny, Hangman, Ibushi, Takeshita, Jay White. Only one man and one man only in this match is going to take that pin, and it's going to be Juice Robinson. Golden Elite win this match with Juice taking all three finishers and getting pinned. That's my guess, and I think we will see Takeshita one-on-one with Kenny at All Out. We have the House of Black taking on the Acclaimed and Badass Billy Gunn for the Trios Championship. You got to give it to the Acclaimed here. That I would open with this, maybe. That's a good question I posed to you guys in the chat. What do you think will be the first theme music we hear on the main card of All In? Who's the first person to come out? It could be the Golden Elite. Well, I guess. Well, Kenny, Hangman, and Ibushi probably will not come out to Kansas, right? I think that's more of a Kenny and Bucks thing. I was about to say, we might have Wayward Son play first, but it could be the Acclaimed. And opening up with the Acclaimed and Badass Billy Gunn winning the Trios titles, I think would be awesome. I'm definitely picking the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn to win that. Stadium Stampede, we have Santana and Ortiz teaming up with the BCC to take on Orange Cassidy, the Best Friends, Eddie Kingston, and Penta. I don't know who to pick here, because whenever the Blackpool Combat Club have brought people into their group for a big multi-man matches, it has not gone well. I don't know if they're going to have Santana or Ortiz turn on the other. Maybe that's possible. I don't know who to pick here. This is kind of crapshoot. I'm going to go with Santana Ortiz and the BCC. I think they're a stronger team. Proud and Powerful just returned, and of course you got Moxley and Claudio in there. Let's go with them. Although I still feel like Eddie really needs to get some revenge. Maybe the way to do that is getting that match in Ring of Honor against Claudio or something. Not sure, but yeah, let's still pick BCC and Santana or Ortiz to win the Stadium Stampede. Will Ospreay versus Chris Jericho. I'm going Will Ospreay on that. I don't think there's any other way to book this match other than that. I don't think Jericho has any issues putting anybody over. That's one reason why I can take this, Jericho being in these big matches, because this might actually be pretty good. They set it up pretty well on Dynamite, and it's going to be a big feather in the cap of Will Ospreay if he beats Jericho, and who knows, Jericho might surprise us. Jericho's matches in Japan with Kenny and that one with Naito at those Wrestle Kingdoms I thought were phenomenal, but even those now were, 4, 5, 6 years ago. So Jericho being able to hold up physically on a night that apparently he's going to sing himself to the ring, I don't know. I'm going Will Ospreay 100% on that one. Women's title on the line in the four-way, Shida defending against Toni Storm, Saraya, and Britt Baker. It feels like they're kind of going to play off something here with the Outcasts, as Toni and Saraya have been playing up how they're sisters and all that. So I feel like Saraya might screw Toni, or something's going to come into play there. But I feel like, considering where they are, this is going to be Saraya's belt to win here in front of this audience. I feel like they'd give it to Saraya. So I'm going to pick Saraya. The only other choice here maybe could be a good swerve and actually have Britt Baker win and then join Adam Cole and the New Empire in the main event as heels. Maybe if Britt Baker wins here, and she wins kind of as a babyface and she celebrates as a babyface, but the fans are kind of booing. Twitter's going nuts. Oh, she's the next Charlotte. WWE's just putting her over. And then later on, she turns heel. That might be pretty fun. So I might even book or predict Baker, but I'm going to predict Saraya. I think just knowing who Tony Khan is, he's a fan, and he probably wants to give this moment to her there, and I feel that's what we're going to get. So I think Saraya is going to come away with the championship and then maybe feud with Toni Storm after this, since she's doing that great disgruntled starlet gimmick or whatever it is from the 1940s or 50s. It's great. It's good stuff. It's highly entertaining. So Saraya and Storm feuding after this, I could see that happening. So we're going to go with Saraya. CM Punk taking on Samoa Joe for the real World's Championship. I pitched the idea the other day of having Ricky Starks be the manager of Samoa Joe in this match. I feel like that's something they would do. But even though Punk won the match in the Owen, you would think that Joe would get his win back here somehow, but I don't think Punk's going to be dropping that belt with the X on it until he can have that title for title match against the winner of MJF and Adam Cole. So I feel like that's what they're heading towards. So I feel like Punk's going to get the win somehow here, clean or whatnot. Not sure what he's going to do, but I'm going to pick CM Punk to win that. And we have Darby Allin and Sting taking on Swerve, Strickland, and Christian in the coffin match. We just talked about this whole situation earlier on when we talked about Edge, and if Edge, Adam Copeland, was coming into AEW and he was going to appear at All In, instead of him making some grand entrance to the Rob Zombie song and Excalibur trying to give him a new name or whatever, just have him pop out of that coffin, hide under the ring or whatever, during the House of Black's entrance when it's all dark and he can scurry under there, get under there, whatever. And then he comes out of the coffin with the trap door when Christian opens the lid sometime during the match and pops the crowd, and that would just be incredible. And then you could even play it off. You know who that is, don't you? The announcers. And like I said, it would be great if Edge cut his first promo on AEW TV and just kept it real. Instead of trying to give him a different name or not acknowledge who he was, just get on the mic and say, guys, I'm here now, but you all know about wrestling. I can't be Edge here. I can't be Edge here. I have to be Adam here. So you got to get to know me as Adam now. Nobody's really ever came out and said it like that before. Even Scott Hall and Kevin Nash never really referenced Razor Ramon and Diesel when they were in WCW. They were just Kevin Nash and Scott Hall now. It would have been funny if they got on the mic and would be like, Vince won't let us be Diesel or something like that. Like if Edge did something more practical. or realistic I would like. So we'll see if he shows up or not. But the fact that Christian has replaced AR Fox now puts Christian on the card, which now means there actually is a reason for Edge to be there if he was going to be on the show. Because without Christian, I don't know what Edge would even come in and do. So Edge might just be sitting on his ass in Asheville, or he might be hitting a plane tomorrow and heading his ass to Wembley to make an appearance. We just don't know. FTR against the Young Bucks for the tag team champions, the two of the championships. The two teams had a sit down with Renee on Dynamite last night. And I don't know who to pick here because I don't know how much of Cash Wheeler's recent troubles is going to play into the finish here. I don't know if it would affect the finish. I don't know if they're going to go, if they've already had the finish in place before the Cash Wheeler stuff happened, they already know what they're going to do and it's remained unaffected. I don't know. Or if they've said, pending your investigation and your shit, we're going to put the belts on the Bucks and, take the titles off of you just in case this turns out to be more serious than we had thought. And then we have to strip you of the championships. And we don't want to do that. It's best just to get them off of you here and give, two members of the faction that is in the name of your wrestling promotion a championship win against or in front of 80,000 people. I'm going to pick the Young Bucks, although I am not confident about that at all. And the main event, finally, MJF defending his AEW World Championship against Adam Cole. I think these two men are going to find themselves unsuccessful in the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship build on the pre-show, and that could be due to some interference from Roderick Strong or members of the Empire or whatever. And then you go into this match, and the way MJF has been teasing every week, it's like he thinks about attacking Adam Cole and he doesn't do it. And every time Adam Cole has his back turned, completely trusting. Last night on Dynamite, same thing. The brawl with Aussie Open. He reached in, Adam Cole had his back turned. He reached into his tights, put on the ring, decided not to, took off the ring, put it in his tights. I think the ring is going to come into play in the finish here. And I think it's going to be Adam Cole, the one to use it. And I think if Adam Cole cheats and beats MJF, because one of these guys is going to turn on the other one, but I think it would be more fun for storyline if MJF was the one that got worked this time. Because for the first time ever, we've seen a human side of MJF, a more genuine side of him. He has made himself a babyface through this. I think he could continue to be a babyface, and that would be a pretty amazing transition for a character like him to have so much heat and be such an evil person, saying the worst possible things you can say to another person, throwing tequila in kids' faces. He's a menace, but a good kind of menace. And then go from that character to somebody that fans actually have sympathy for and feel bad for what he went through and how he was manipulated would be great. And then you've got Adam Cole as the champion and CM Punk as the real world's champion. Give me that promo battle in that match any day. We've already seen the MJF and CM Punk stuff. You can always go back to it. But I think the better match to do here would be Adam Cole and CM Punk. So with that, I'm going to predict that Adam Cole turns on MJF in this match, hits him with the Dynamite Diamond Ring, or has Roderick and the Empire come out and interfere on his behalf, meaning that he helped orchestrate the loss in the 0 hour, meaning he purposely did not want to win those tag team championships. He was in on it the whole time. Roddy coming out and costing them the title match in the 0 hour was all planned. He'll reveal that in the promo. I didn't want to win the tag team championships with you, Max. You're a dick. I used you. I manipulated you. I studied you. I watched everything you did to every friend and alliance you made in this company in its 4-year history. And I took all of that knowledge that I learned and I studied when I was on the shelf with my injury. And I plotted, coming in and actually being the one to pay you back for all the shit you did to everybody else, all the manipulation, and all the distrust and the way you used everybody to get to where you are. I decided to use you to get where I needed to be. And that would be a great story and make a lot more sense than them trying to continue this brochacho alliance, albeit very entertaining. I just think that you need to move on from that, do the big swerve, have Adam Cole as the AEW champion, winning the title. That would be a great moment for him and maybe one that made him realize, okay, I did make the right decision after all, coming here as opposed to sticking around in WWE where they would have put me on SmackDown and shaved my head and made the manager of Doink or something. So that would be an incredible finish. It would be a swerve. Adam Cole would win the title. It would transition MJF into being a heel or a babyface, and then Adam Cole and CM Punk can do their thing, or maybe even toss MJF in there and do a triple threat. But Adam Cole and CM Punk is a feud that I want to see. And maybe MJF then can win the championship from whoever comes out of that match. Adam Cole and CM Punk unify that X title and the AEW title thing. They have that match, maybe even as early as All Out, I don't know, or somewhere down the line. And then maybe MJF wins the belt back later on as a babyface, and this time he wins it fair and square, coming full circle right around the same time that his contract is up. We will see. But in the main event, I'm predicting Adam Cole to win the AEW championship and defeat MJF. And with that, I'm glad I got those predictions out of the way because, guys, I'm just still not quite over what we learned just a few minutes ago regarding Bray Wyatt. Absolutely heartbreaking situation, blown away by this development. Don't know what to think about it. Just need time to process, to absolutely process. Oh my gosh. We will see what else we learn. Yes, the Bray Wyatt thing is real. Yes, if anybody is chiming in the chat, letting me know about Bray Wyatt, we found out all here together just maybe 15, 20 minutes ago. If you rewind back a little bit, you will hear my thoughts on that. I will try to crop out that part, maybe post it to Twitter just so people know that I am aware of that. Yeah, and I think we'll kind of end this stream a little earlier than I intended because I really have to kind of think about this one. But thanks again, guys. Chris Ludek, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate that $5 from you. I'm still going with the swerve where MJF wins and winds up as the leader of the New Kingdom, and they screw over Adam Cole. Okay, Chris, so you and I have the same idea, just reversed. I think it's Adam Cole going to be the one to screw MJF. We will see who's right. What I like about this is you really don't know. This is my idea, but I'm not confident in that idea. It just feels like that would be a fun way to do it. But I'm in no way, saying that I'm 100% certain they're going to do that. I'm not. It could be your way. We will see. Tribal Chief, thank you for the $10. I want to knock out these supers before we leave. Wait, I'm so confused. Greg, did Bray Wyatt actually pass? What the hell is going on? Are you aware of that? Yes, Tribal Chief, I am aware of that. We talked about it. I will try to crop out this so you guys can hear it properly, but I got to head to work now. Thomas, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate the 5. I'm literally shaking right now. Bray Wyatt's age was too close to Eddie one day after Terry Funk. Yeah, my God. Thank you, Joshua. Good to see you, my friend. Thanks for chiming in as well. And thanks to everyone for being here today. Learning of Bray Wyatt's passing right in the middle of talking about AEW Dynamite was tough. It was real tough. I spoke a little bit about it earlier, so you can scroll back and listen. I'll try to update the title here with Bray Wyatt passing away and that sort of thing. But yeah, unbelievable day. But you guys have a great rest of your Thursday night. Appreciate you being here. I'm sorry I'm a little flustered, but I think we all are after learning that news about Bray Wyatt. If we learn any more about his death specifically, any details worth discussing, we'll come up here tomorrow and talk about it. So that'll kind of be up in the air. We'll figure it out later, and I'll let you guys know if I have a stream plan for tomorrow where we talk about Bray Wyatt. Otherwise, we might have to save it for another day. Not sure. We gotta find out information first. You know what I mean? But crazy day, man. Crazy day. Rest in peace to Bray Wyatt, and rest in peace to Terry Funk. And thank you very much, guys, for being here today. Sorry for the bad news. Wasn't expecting that. It's really hard to process that right now, right? Live on camera and stuff. So I'm glad we at least spoke a little bit about it, and I'll collect myself and offer more thoughts on it in the very near future. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. You guys take care, and I will be catching you soon, probably tomorrow. If not, we'll be here for the All In review on Sunday.